Welcome. I'm really excited about this interview today. And we're going to do a little bit of a discussion. I have Avie from International Heritage Tours with us. I also have Teresa from Shepherd Village. What we all have in common is that we have been to Israel on a pilgrimage tour. Avie worked with me in 2009. We took our first tour, and then he's helped us put together the tour since then. In 2013, Teresa, you came on our first trip. Now, you were familiar with the tours because you worked behind the scenes, putting the advertising and information together for us, working at Shepherd Village with our admin work, and which we really do appreciate. You do a great job, and the advertising posters and that you're going to see come from Teresa here, and so thank you. But the reason why I've brought you in on this, I want to know, what was it about your trip to Israel that that stood out? But I also want to know, were you a little bit nervous about going first?
Are you talking about for security reasons?
Yes, yes.
You hear stories, right. and you talk to people, and everyone sounds like they're like, really, you're going over there?
Right.
Are you sure you want to go over there? Right. Even when I asked my son, right, his initial reaction, to me, it was just a trip.
Right.
I wasn't really worried about the security.
Right.
So, you know, I thought, I'm going alone, I might as well ask my son. And he said, first, his initial reaction is, it has nothing to do with security. You want me to go on a trip with a bunch of old people? I don't think so. Right. So after a little while, he said, yeah, okay, I'll go. And I thought, okay, fine. He decided the old people are okay.
Right.
But there was one evening when we got together,
yes,
and
I remember that.
Yeah, talked about what was happening during the day and how it affected us.
Right.
He actually admitted that the only reason he went or decided to go was to make sure that Mommy was safe.
Yes.
He didn't want me to go alone and get lost or who knows what.
I remember that discussion. Yes.
And what during that discussion, what really shocked me was that he actually admitted that yes, he was so glad he made the decision because it was such an impactful trip so far.
Right.
And it had just begun.
Yes.
It wasn't even the full trip, it was just begun. And he goes, because I remember you asking, you know, like how has it affected you? And he said, the Bible, it became real. It's real. Right. This is really here. It's all the places that I'm just not reading stories, it's a real thing. It's real. And it became real to him.
Yes. So, Avie, when you put the stuff together for us, what's one of the things that you hope people take out of this trip?
I think the most important message is what people bring back from the trip.
Right.
In other words, it's a perspective that somebody who hasn't been doesn't really know of. Because most of the times when you offer a trip to Israel, they say, where? Israel? Right. Is it safe to go to Israel?
Right, right.
But the truth is that Israel is a lot safer than many destinations that you go and visit in the United States.
Right.
So all told, it's a perspective that we try to glean from those who've returned from journeys to Israel. Because I can sell Israel, because I know that's what I do.
Yes.
But it's the person like Teresa who's been that first time, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this is real. It's not just Disneyland.
Right, right. And so you felt safe when you were there. Oh, yeah. Johnny decided after that trip, when we did our next one, what was his comment?
Okay, so I just happened to mention to him that we're going again. We're going to schedule, you know, organize another trip. And his initial reaction was, okay, sign me up. And I said, yeah, but you don't know what the date is. It doesn't matter, sign me up. But Johnny, you're organizing your wedding. It's okay, work around it, sign me up. He was determined to go again.
So he went with us again in 2018, wasn't it? And how was your personal experience there in Tel Aviv and Tiberias, Nazareth, in Galilee? Which of those places really sort of stood out to you?
There's so many. Like I had to write comments, notes down because there's so many. Just to look at a few. The sailing on the Sea of Galilee.
Right.
It was like, okay, Peter walked on this water. Jesus walked on this water. This is here. We're on the water.
Right.
And I'm thinking, I wonder if I could step out.
I'm glad you didn't, okay?
No, I'm glad I didn't either.
Johnny might have been upset.
So like, this is just, you know, just I decided to, you know, take a picture and show you the picture. There, like I said, there's so many. There's a kibbutz that we went to in 2013. We didn't go, I don't think we went to one in 2018, but 2013. Now, let me see if I pronounce this correctly. Neot Semadar?
Semadar, yeah.
Okay, so what stood out?
Yes.
Yeah, this is it. What stood out to me is that the engineering of this thing, it's like, wow, you're standing outside and you're sweltering. You walk through the entrance, there's no doorway holding the air in, and you need a jacket on the inside. And it's such a beautiful place. You're expecting Cinderella to walk out the door.
Madar is a unique community, and they've got a center there that deals with psychological and psychiatric relief. Oh. And that concept and that building are all sort of like intertwined into the fabric of that small community. It's a very small community, very successful.
Is that new? I don't remember that mentioned the first time we went.
It's not new. It's something that they've been doing over time, right? So they have a whole lot more milestones towards that.
So this is in the Negev.
That's
right?
in the heart of the Negev desert, yeah.
How did you feel about that part of going into the desert? Initially, when Avie had said to me, let's leave from Tel Aviv, let's go down through the Negev and go south and then make our way back up. I was thinking, boy, the desert. What's fascinating about a desert? What was the experience of the desert?
Okay, so when you first look at the Negev, it looks very stark, but absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. It's a whole different world. You're thinking of an alien world. That's the Negev, but it's like I said, it's gorgeous. Now, I do remember going in one excursion where we actually walked into the Negev, and I can't remember where we were going, but I do remember thinking, okay, I take back everything that I said about the Israelites walking through the desert for 40 years. I can't last an hour without starting to complain.
It was not easy walking, and it was hot.
Yes.
But it was absolutely fascinating.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't as hot as if we had planned the journey in July. That's hot.
Exactly.
Right.
I rest my case.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think our last trip was in October. We've done one in November, our first trip, but October was the last. This one is going to be in the spring.
And the tail end of spring.
Yeah. Tell us about that time of the year. What's it like?
So, as things are starting to heat up, and I don't mean security-wise, generally the temperature is going to be higher.
Right.
So you could have what's known as a Hamsin. There are 50 hot days in that neighborhood.
Right.
And so you could have one of those days in early May. Chances are, given the weather patterns that we've seen over the last few years, that we might just have something unusual like that.
Right.
But generally speaking, it's a mild spring in Israeli terms. But it's certainly 10 degrees warmer than in Toronto.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we picked it. It was the spring. Things were starting to be green and not dried from the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice to get away from what was a cold winter here in Canada.
The other issue is that when you travel in October, November kind of date, even January, you're looking at the tail end of a long, hot summer where everything is either brown or yellow.
Right.
And then you start traveling March, April, May, and this whole place looks so unusual. Chances are that there's still going to be some areas in Petra and in the Negev where there's still going to be spring or pre-summer bloom
Right.
still around.
Right.
And that's something that is pretty unique to the desert kind of morphology, because the
Right.
morphology is very, very unique. Right near Neotz Madar, there's a wide valley that recently a geologist studied with a little bit more than a microscope to find out that this Faran Valley, which is a very big valley that spills from Sinai into and across the Negev, has a phenomenon that is unique in all of the world. The oldest stones in that valley are the stones at the top.
Oh.
Because what happens is that water flows, and the water flows and carries mud and stone. The mud will then dry, and the stone pops out of the mud.
Right.
Next season, the rains come, and they lift those stones up, and it's 5 million year old stones.
Wow. Fascinating, yes. Going back to your trip and your experience there, Teresa, what was it that, another thing that you really enjoyed? I know in Tiberias when we were there, after dinner and after a long day, we would often just go for a walk down the shores of Galilee, but also the marketplace as well in Tiberias, and I remember that experience there as well. But was there other things that stood out for you that were really, I want to go back because of those?
Are you referring to right in Tiberias or anywhere?
Anywhere. Mostly around the Sea of Galilee right now, because we'll take you down to Jerusalem a little bit later, but around the Sea of Galilee.
There's the ancient boat.
Right, right.
The ancient boat was looking at it and thinking, this boat here was in the time of Jesus.
Right.
It's like you want to reach out and touch it. You can't, but you want to reach out and touch it.
Right.
It's like, I'm touching history.
Right.
Well, it doesn't matter anywhere you go in Israel, you're touching history.
Yes, yes.
But think,
Walking in it,
yeah,
living in it.
Jesus could have been in that boat.
Yeah. And also Mary of Magdalene and the church there.
There's a whole new archaeological section
Yes.
there that you'll be visiting.
Yeah.
There's a unique stone that is some kind of an altar stone that was found in the ancient synagogue there that you can see today as well. It's pretty unique in that, if you remember in Kfar Nahum, sometimes we would stop and show you a mosaic with a little boat.
Yes.
The only ancient boat that you could see until we discovered the boat was in this mosaic, and the mosaic is from the church floor in Magdala that was taken to Kfar Nahum, to Capernaum.
Right.
So today it's a little different. In the context of the Jewish revolt, Magdala was known and well referred to by Josephus as one of the largest naval battles took place right there.
Oh, really?
Because being fishermen, the rebels got onto boats and sailed out, and the Romans couldn't get them. So they built rafts out of palm trees, and they attacked on the water. And the defendants of at Gamla, the Masada of the north, on the west side, the east side, they were looking down, and they describe, Josephus says that they described the battle where the sea was red with the blood of the defenders.
Wow.
So it's an interesting sort of like dichotomy between the two locations, but there are several locations there.
Yeah.
What did you think about Tabcha? No?
Don't remember.
The feeding of the multitude?
Oh, Beatitudes. Yeah, it's the same thing as our guide is going through the story. And I remember one time you actually, it was either yourself or someone else read the account, and you're looking over and thinking, this is it. Everywhere you go is like, this is it. Yeah. This is it. We're standing here. It's a profound experience when you're actually there. You see it on TV. You see movies about it. You see documentaries about it, and it's all on TV, and it's not real. Right. Right. When you're there and you're standing there, you're experiencing it.
Yeah. You're feeling it.
Yes.
And it engages you at every sensation.
Exactly.
And I remember doing the devotional on the feeding of the 5,000 and on both shores. and talking about the significance of that and the message. I won't get into that now, but I'll maybe share some of that on the trip as well. You mentioned about northern Masada, and I remember our guy. You remember Rand? He's 6'7", I think, and just a fascinating.
If not a little taller.
Yeah, yeah, maybe a little even taller than that. But he was a professor at the University of Tel Aviv, studied the Roman armies, and he talked to us about the northern Masada, which most people don't. You don't hear a lot about.
Gamla is a unique location.
Yeah.
In that one can actually see how the topography dictated the kind of battle that Josephus describes, and I think
Right.
Ron must have referred to it.
Yes, he did.
But more importantly, in Gamla, they're trying to reintroduce vultures that have gone actually on the verge of being extinct.
Right.
And, the nesting of the vultures at Gamla is a known phenomenon.
Yeah.
And so that's another aspect that one can see,
Yeah.
particularly early in the month, early
Yeah.
in the season. You
We
can
did-
actually see them.
Yeah, we did, and we actually saw some eagles, I believe it was.
Yes.
Yes,
yeah.
in that spot there as well. That really captured my attention, and which caused me to actually go back and do some more reading about the Romans and the army and Vespasian and Titus, you know, who came down from the north and started there, 68, then went to Jerusalem
Yep.
in around 70, and then the Masada in 72, and that whole invasion. Fascinating. What do you remember about being at Banias, Caesarea Philippi, where Jesus asked the disciples,
Who do you say I am?
Who do you say I am? Do you remember anything significant or engaging about that?
Is that where that pillar was? Do you remember the pillar?
Oh, I do. I think you're talking about another Roman city and a Roman city that we visited as well. I forget the name of that.
Further south, maybe Beit Shan?
Yeah. Oh no, you're talking about Capernaum.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, the
Capernaum.
pillar in
Yes.
Capernaum. Yeah,
It's a direct a reference to our job, right?
Oh,
Being
yeah.
in fund development.
Yes.
I'm thinking, wow, very ancient naming opportunity, donor naming opportunity.
Right.
Well, now,
was,
now in the church in Banias, the famous section of the wall that separated the new church that was discovered there and a dining room seems to be something where they took an altar that was dedicated by somebody doing fundraising for the altar of Pan.
Right.
And that was put into the wall of a
Right.
Christian church because we don't celebrate Pan any longer.
Right. And the one you're referring to was the sons of Zebedee, James and John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see this pillar designated or dedicated to their name. And
there you're
And
looking
that's
at something which is 400 years after Jesus.
Right,
And the
right.
same family names. You get to
Right.
realize what a name actually is.
Right, yeah. Fascinating. Petra, talk to us about how you experienced Petra.
It's just like what you mentioned before, the geology, the rock formations, the colors are just outstanding. You're walking through the gorge, and you have to be careful how you walk because it's not flat ground.
Right.
But still, you can't help
Right.
it. You're just like, wow,
Yeah.
look at this, and it's all the way down. It's not just a small section; it's all the way down. And then when it opens up, and you see the treasury, it's like, of course, I was really upset that I couldn't go in. I really wanted to go in, but there was a gate that stopped us. And
What was the movie?
Raiders of
the Lost Ark.
Lost Ark, that's
yes,
it. Yeah.
Raiders of the Lost
You
Ark.
referenced.
Yes, it's like okay, I'm in there.
Yeah.
I know where they're going. I was there.
Yeah. I want to go inside. I remember you saying that.
Hues and the colors. When you sit in the
Yeah.
theater, that's just a little
get
bit
it.
further on.
You don't get it as much.
But if you look carefully at the, let's see, it's the south
Yeah,
east
the theater.
side.
Yes.
There's that one vein of rock that all of a sudden sort of like goes into what looks like plain.
Yes.
But it's all, the hues are all there. It's all over the show.
Fascinating. And I remember getting pictures of my daughter Rhonda there as well. She in the theater area and in the different poses and that, but also being inside some of those caves where they actually lived. How many people actually lived in Petra? Was it around 30,000 at one point? Am I correct?
It depends on which archaeological study you're looking at.
Right.
It's anywhere between 15 to 30,000 people in the general area. But as I said before, the major issue is that on each hilltop, there's stuff that one doesn't really visit because it's just so hard to get to.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But Petra was included the hilltops around the valley that we're in.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And there's still evidence of people, of their presence, because you see the burnt smoke on the cave walls.
Fascinating. Jerusalem. Should we head to Jerusalem, or did you want to talk about the Dead Sea? What? How did you love to swim, right?
Oh yeah. Sure.
Right. You don't swim much, right? No. But the Dead Sea. Any threats of drowning?
No, no. You without dunking your head, you try to see if you can sink, but you can't. You're just constantly bobbing away at the top of the water.
I like to say to people, just act like a log.
Yeah, pretty much.
A log, yeah.
Just act like a log. And if you've got a good book, read it.
You can float. Masada, being up on Masada.
Okay, so when you're going into the structures and you can see the evidence that, like the mosaics and you know where they were having their baths and you see all of that. But what really stood out was when you go to the edge and you're looking down and you can see the outline of the Roman encampment. Right. And you're thinking, you can picture it. You can picture them down there waiting to get to you.
Right. That was Titus, I believe it was, Vespasian's son.
Yeah, Titus.
Yeah.
But the remarkable thing about Masada is that helicopters are not allowed to land on Masada any longer.
Okay.
And the reason being, when the Chancellor of Germany, Willy Brandt, visited, they flew in this big Sikorsky helicopter. It was facing south. He landed at 12 noon. And I mentioned the Shrakia, that northerly wind.
Right.
He got onto the helicopter, and the wind picked the helicopter up before they could turn the engines on. And the casemate wall of Masada, 2,000 years old, the helicopter hit that casemate wall, did this, and the casemate wall stopped the helicopter going over the edge.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
That casemate wall, you know?
That would be scary.
Yes.
Just watching it, yeah.
And you see it on TV, and it's like, oh my God, really?
So they've actually got a video of that.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was on the news that night.
Yeah.
It was on the news that night.
Right.
You know, what we didn't discuss was Genesis Land.
Oh, talk to us about your experience at Genesis Land, okay? I said you could not talk about camels in a negative way. What is there that you loved about the camels? We joke about it because it's not an easy ride, is it?
No, well, it's not the ride itself. No, it's not that. It's when they get up and down, right?
Oh, yes.
It's like it's like if you're not prepared for it, you can either flop over, or you're hopefully someone's behind you and they can catch you.
Yeah, yeah. It's a 70-degree pitch. It's pretty awesome.
One of our friends, Brock, actually, when he got on initially, he went forward, the head came back and almost knocked him out. And so gave him a bit of a headache. You did the ride, though.
Oh, yeah, no. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I did it. They're nice animals. There's a friend of ours took a picture, not a picture, a little video of my son and I, walking away on the camel, and you hear in the background, "Oh my God, I'm gonna die!"
Well,
and you don't. And you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
But you do walk along a cliff. They take you right along the cliff.
Yes.
And the view from there
If you're not too preoccupied with the cliff.
Yes,
you're looking down towards the Jordan Valley there.
Yeah, in Judea, right? In the Judean desert. So
the experience there is sort of like the biblical hospitality that is so often mentioned in the Bible.
Right.
How you open your home to a guest. Okay?
Right.
And so the concept there is not just the camel ride. The camel ride is unique. But the concept there is that biblical kind of hospitality.
Right. And we did experience that, and it was just fascinating. And then we're going into Jerusalem.
The what hit for Jerusalem, a couple of things, oh, actually three things. One was the wall.
Yes.
Just seeing that and the impact of the people and how they're in prayer.
Right.
It's like you can't help but want to go and pray.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And we do that.
Yes.
And some people took a little note and wrote their prayer out or a name of somebody, put it on the wall, and there's just thousands of those on the wall. What else in Jerusalem stood out to you?
The going through the old marketplace.
Right. Supermarket.
Yes, it's an experience.
Yeah.
It's like you want to stop and look around, but then you don't know where to look, and you don't know what to do.
And then you hear the vendor say, "Come into my store, let me rip you off."
Yes.
It's a fascinating market. It's one of the largest, is it not?
Yeah, it's one of the largest of the relatively small markets. It's one of the largest. Yes,
Yeah.
those kind of in Jaffa. There's a slightly smaller market,
Right.
but Jerusalem is like it's the only old kind of market, right?
Right. You really do feel like you're back in biblical days, you know, in the marketplace there.
7 meters underneath.
Yes, yes. And we do that,
Yes.
right? Like we have gone underground and walked those trails where the original marketplace would have been. What else impressed you about it?
So the first trip, 2013, when we drove into Jerusalem, it was impactful. Right. And we stopped at the top. Can't remember the name of. Yes, that's it. And we looked over. It was towards the end of the day, but the sun was still. It was still light enough that you know, we had communion and prayer, and it's like
Psalm of David and Psalm
of Ascent.
Yes, of Ascent.
Psalm of Ascent.
Yeah.
That's a good place to do it. Now, at Mount Scopus, when you stop and you're standing at that patio, there's that new wall.
Right.
Just underneath it, there are two perfect examples of Second Temple tombs right there.
Right.
And that's something that I like to take people to.
Yes.
Because once you stop there, you might as well go and see what the tomb looked like that Jesus was buried in.
Right, yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful experience when you're there and you're on that mountain, then you're heading down and you're going into the city of Jerusalem. You're walking the Via Dolorosa. Yeah. Do you remember going into one of the churches and experiencing? We sang some hymns, and just the melody and the worshipfulness of those experiences. Fascinating. The Mount of Olives in the garden there.
So the second trip, the first trip, both trips we went to the garden, Garden of Gethsemane.
Right.
The second one, Aaron arranged a private visit, and it was first thing in the morning, and it was quiet, and it was very reverent.
Right. Yeah, I remember us doing a devotional and a prayer time, and then just allowing people just to move and find their quiet space, do their devotional, and it was really meaningful as well. What is there about the trip? If someone hasn't been there, and you would say, you know, what would you say to encourage them to join us on this?
It becomes real. You want the Bible to be real and impactful, you should go and be there. You should go and experience it yourself. It just changes your look on it.
Thank you. Avie, anything else that you want to add?
It's interesting to hear a pilgrim's like first experience and second experience. Just remember that for 2,000 years, pilgrims have been doing that very route.
Right.
And they will continue for 2,000 years after us as well.
Yes.
It's not, we're not doing anything unusual.
Right.
And so I would encourage anyone who's hesitant.
Right.
It's a life-changing journey that will color your Bible in a very different hue.
Yeah.
And it's never enough. Like, you go once, and you experience and you see things, and then you go again because you're always learning more things and experiencing more things. It's not like you go and you just scratch the surface. You go again and just scratch a little bit more, but there's always more to explore.
Yeah, I remember, and my first trip in '87 was like that, and then the next 2009, and then 13 we expanded it even further. And I remember in 2018, we had a day of leisure. We took the morning at leisure in Jerusalem. We went back and visited the marketplace again, supermarket, and then we went up to Tel Aviv. And we spent lunch and afternoon on the beach in Jaffa. Parked the bus at Jaffa, and then we went on to the beach. And we actually had our lunch and on the Mediterranean. And again, that was a great experience as well.
It was great sharing it with everyone all at once.
And I remember Darla and I walking in the water with our pants, rolled up, and just enjoying the flavor of the city of Tel Aviv and Jaffa, thinking about bringing this trip to its close. But again, like you said, the impact. And the morning was really funny because Darla was, when we were walking through the supermarket, Darla was sitting outside in the Yehuda Square, the cafe market area, and just really enjoying the ambiance there. And some of the students must have had their day off.
School kids.
Yeah, school kids came over to her. They saw she was a stranger, so they started talking to her. And then they said, "Where are you from?" And they said, "Well, I'm from Canada." Where in Canada? From Ontario, Toronto. She said, "Oh, do you know Justin Bieber?" So she had a big laugh. She said, "No, I don't know Justin, but he did. My husband grew up near where he lived," and so they had a dialogue. The teacher came along, but it's just that interaction with people from another culture, another world, and while at the same time experiencing the life of Jesus. And the patriarchs of the Old Testament, knowing that they left us something that will impact us forever, and to be able to walk there, the pilgrimage, I personally think any serious Bible student or pastor really should make the trip. As you said, it colors your Bible and makes it alive. So I want to thank you, Teresa, for sharing with us and joining with us and sharing what was important to you. And Avie, again, thank you for putting this trip together. We're going to go May the 3rd to the 15th, correct?
Yes.
And so we look forward to you joining with us. If you want any more information, Teresa will be glad to follow up with you and give you any more details that you need as well.
And if I can thank you for organizing the trip, and thank you for going on the trips, because that's what the bottom line is. You get up and go.
Yeah, we'll be there again.